All right, welcome to the training today. This is a Volusion topic, but a little more general. This is more of a topic on general homepage design for your website. Okay, and specifically the idea of using featured products on a homepage, why that's important, why we should do it, and how to do it within Volusion. Okay. Some of you guys have websites that have featured products, others don't. We're going to recommend that you do feature some of your products on your homepage. And the reason why is because it actually does work. You're going to get a fair amount of traffic in through your homepage. Although the majority of it will probably come through other pages of your site, you still will get a fair bit on your homepage. And whatever you choose to feature there is going to be seen just that much more often. So if it's a high margin item, something you're making a lot of money on, if it's a hot item that you want to start moving, if it's something you've got a lot of inventory in that you want to move quickly, featuring it there on your homepage isn't a bad idea. Okay? But before we do that, let me just look through a couple of sites and just show you that this isn't a strategy that's isolated to what we teach. This is a strategy that a lot of big companies use. Look at Amazon, for example. I'm just going to click through a few prominent e-commerce spots and websites and show you kind of what they do. You'll notice on Amazon they have kind of a main heading up here. They've got a search bar, and then they've got their little sort of a static banner right here advertising their Kindle. But as you scroll below this, you're going to start seeing various products show up, right? Featured products. A lot of it with Amazon is based on prior search history, but they show a number of products on their homepage. Okay. Click over here to Target. If I scroll on Target, same kind of setup. They have a menu. Their menu goes left and to the top, and then as you scroll down, they have different sections and categories listed here, as well as a featured products section on their homepage. Okay. What about Wayfair.com? This is one we've looked at before. Similar structure. You've got a slider here or a static image with some marketing messaging on it, and as you scroll down, you're going to start seeing featured products and some different graphical design as you go down, but a lot of featured product look or work. Walmart is no different. Walmart's notorious for this. Their design is very simple. A simple banner. They have a slider that you can select different images. As you scroll down, what's the very next thing that shows up? Featured products, so on and so forth. Okay? So this idea of like featuring some of your products on your homepage is it's common. And the big companies are doing it. They know more about marketing than we ever will. They do more in volume than we ever will. The analytics show it that featured products on a homepage is a valuable part of e-commerce design. Okay, so we'll analyze other homepage elements later, like the slider up here at the top, this banner, or other things that you can put on your homepage to improve it. But I want to make one suggestion today, and that's to actively manage your featured products on your website. Okay, if you don't have them, put them on there. If you do have them, I want to show you how to manipulate them, change them, and just a little bit of strategy involved in that. Okay. Okay, so let's look at, first of all, how many featured products, because that's the first question I get from you guys. I've got a sample site up here, uptownpearl.com. Their featured products here, they've got currently 7 featured products. So right underneath their slider, they've got 7 featured products and then some other information below that. Okay. So, but you might ask, well, wait a minute, how many, right? How many featured products should I have or can I have Um, well, I don't know. I mean, there's not any hard and fast answers to that. I would say for most of my clients and things that we've done in the past, I would do between 3 and 9, which means I would probably have no more than 3 columns and 3 rows, which would equal 9. In this case, I think they should fill up this empty space with 2 more. And I can, in fact, we can do that together. I'll show you how to fix that. I think they should have 9 here. It doesn't mean you have to have 9. You could start with just 3 and be just fine. Your home page doesn't have to be packed with tons of information on it. But somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 9 is where I would start. So let me show you step 1 on how to do this, okay? So let's say you've got a website and you want to adjust your featured products. Well, step 1 is you have to assign individual products featured status. And let me show you how to do that, okay? So let me log in here to this site. Okay, this is just your typical Volusion site. And let me go to my inventory list. So inventory and then products. And what's nice about this is I can quickly make anything here a featured product. I just have to simply go edit the item. So I'm going to edit this C260, okay? This is called the An for $28, C260. So I'm going to click on that. And with any product, you manage the featured option down here under advanced info and then product display, okay? Okay, so you click product display and then you come right down here to this option right here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for you guys so you can see that better. It's feature product on the home page. Okay, now you're going to get a bunch of different options here. These other options don't work well with a lot of the templates and a lot of your designs. Only select home featured, okay? If I select home featured, I'm going to get an orange save button, and if I click on that, and then I go view the store, this product should now show up in my featured list. Okay, there it is. Okay, and now I have 8. If I want to round this out, I really need to find one more to fit in this section. And you know, the thing I like about Volusion is the formatting is they do the formatting for this, right? They align it, they set it up so it looks really nice. So really your job should just be to select what products you want there. Let's go find another. So we'll go back in here, we'll go inventory and then products. And then let's find another featured one we can add. We'll grab this one called the Abigail, which is C3-140. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to scroll down the page here. I'm going to find under advanced info. I'm going to go to product display. Okay, and then I'm going to scroll down this section right here, feature product on the home page, and I'm going to do home featured, save, and then that should put it right there on my home page. There you go. See that? So all those featured products are there. So I have kind of the standard design, and most of your sites should follow this standard design where you've got a logo, you've got some kind of a menu, you've got a slider or just a static banner image, and then you've got your featured products underneath that. Underneath that, that's where it can vary a little bit. You can have some text, you can have a free shipping banner, you could have, there's a lot of things you could do underneath that. You'll notice Wayfair is notorious for having tons of different graphics underneath. See all these different graphics? These are all custom graphics that are made to go underneath their standard homepage banner and then featured products. So you can make this as big or as small as you want. Truthfully, because most of you guys are starting brand new sites, I would keep it way simple. Go banner and then featured products underneath that, and that's probably good. Maybe some information below that, but at its most simple form, this is what it should be like. Okay. Now, if I want to pull something out, I easily can. I mean, I could say, well, I don't want to feature this product, the Robin, anymore because I've been selling them like crazy, and I'd rather sell something else. So I'm going to click on this product, the Robin, and I'm going to edit it. So here we are at the Robin. I'm going to come up here to edit, and then this product. And then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to find that same section, product display. There's home featured. And rather than keeping home featured selected, I'm going to move my cursor and select the word select. Once I do that, it basically takes it out of featured or feature product on the home page if I save it. And then we go back out and take a little peek. It should be gone. And so it is. Okay. Now, there's a section, guys, so that's step one. You basically have to choose which products. Well, I guess let's go back. Let's say step one is choose how many products you want featured. I would choose between three or amongst the choices 3, 6, or 9, and I would call it good. You make that call. Your coach can help you decide, I suppose. But really, it's kind of arbitrary. I mean, if you have a site that's got several hundred products, maybe feature 9. If your site is got only 30 or 40, maybe just feature 3. Right? You don't have to have a huge featured category on your homepage. It doesn't make that big of a difference. It's just nice to show a few things that you have. Here's where you go if you want to edit the way they look. So assuming you say, okay, no, I've got a smaller site. I only want 3 featured products. Okay. If that's the case, great. So you've got your 3. You went and you assign the 3 that you want. And then you have to do something about your formatting. The overall formatting that's done for this is you go in here to your dashboard and you find design and then what's called product display settings. Okay? Design and then product display settings. And I'm going to click on that. And here we are. Product display settings. I want to select home page featured right here. Okay, so we're going to select that. And let me give you a couple of pieces of advice when you do this. Some of you guys will notice when you're editing your featured products that the formatting is a little off, and this is where you fix that. Okay. So first of all, you want to select enabled featured products. You're going to put a little checkbox there. Product display mode, you always want what's called responsive grid. So if that's not selected, go ahead and select it. Responsive grid means it's going to adjust the look of your featured products based on the size of the person's or the user's screen. So if I'm viewing this website on an iPhone and the screen is much smaller, my featured products will still display very nicely if it's a responsive theme or a responsive attribute set here. Okay, so let's do responsive. This is where you can customize things a little bit. You could say, okay, I want a certain number of columns and rows. So you could say, I want, in this case, 3 columns, and I want just 1 row. Okay. And that would change the way your products are showing up there on the home page. I suppose you could do 4 columns, right? And do 4 products listed. Or you could just do 2 columns and have a column of 2 and then rows of whatever, 3 or 4. But I just think it looks really nice if you do columns of 3 and then choose how many rows you want. You would do display rows 1 if you only wanted 3 products. You would do display rows 2 if you wanted 6 products. And then you would display rows 3 if you wanted 9 products to show up there on your home page. We're just going to select 1 because now we just want 3, okay? And then the rest of this, you can choose what you want to do with. You can play with it a little bit. It shows availability, shows list price versus sales price. savings. Always, always though, and this is something we've showed you how to do in another training having to do with categories. You want to show description, no, and you want to show description short, no. Okay? If you don't change that, if you don't show description or show description short, your descriptions of your products are actually going to show up in your category display there for feature, or not your category display, but your product display. Okay, so we're going to leave all of this no and hit save, and you're going to see how it looks now on the site. It's going to cut down our featured products to 3. Okay, why only 3? Because we chose 3 columns and 1 row. This is column 1, this is column 2, this is column 3, and we have 1 row there, okay? Notice we have other products that we've featured, but it's only going to show 3 there, all right? And if you want to change, what products show up here, you need to make sure that you edit out these. If you don't want the Abigail, go in and edit it just like we did a minute ago, all right? Let's go back to that display setting. So dashboard, design, product display settings. Let's say that I do want the descriptions to show up. So I could do show description, yes, show description short, yes, and then save that. And if I have a product description on these, it'll actually show up. Unfortunately, these don't have any product description, so that's not going to change it. But if you had a product description on yours, you would have your product description showing up on the home page. Typically, that's not really what you want. Your home page needs to be clean and simple. You'll notice sites like Amazon, they don't have product descriptions here. They just basically show the picture, don't they? Same with Target. They show the picture and the title. Yours should be the same way. So make sure you fix that. Again, real easy to fix. Design, product display settings. Make sure you choose home featured, and we want no and no selected. Okay? If this were yes and yes, the products would come up. Or the product description would come up. Okay? So as a standard, you guys need to go in and check your settings here. The rule should be this needs to be checked. This needs to show responsive grid. This is where you choose how many featured products show up. Always leave a 3 here, but then choose how many rows of products you're going to have. If you put a 1 here, that features 3 products. If you put a 2 there, that featured 6. If you put a 3 there, that features 9. Okay? Go in and play with it a little bit. You'll see what I mean. As you scroll down here, a lot of this stuff you can just leave as select. The only thing you really need to edit are these 2, and you always want no and no under show description and show description short. Okay? Save, and that should fix everything. Now, in theory, you could come down here and you could say, I want 4 columns, and I want 1 row of that. And if I hit save, it's not going to really change anything at all. Your options are just 3 columns. Okay? So that's what you'll do. You could do less than that, but 3 is about where you're going to want to be. Okay? Okay, guys. Questions about doing featured products? You feel like you can do that? Remember the steps. Choose how many you want between 3, 6, and 9. Make sure you select each product and edit each product to be a featured product. You have to edit that within each product, like I showed you a minute ago. And then you check your display settings like we just did and make sure that works. If you do all of that correctly, you'll display your featured products no problem at all. Yeah, Gail, the template has some bearing on how many columns you can show. But I would seriously just stick with 3. I think that's the best way anyway. Bracky, you say, how do you put a free shipping banner on the page? We'll show you that in another training, sort of beyond the scope of what we want to do today. It's not something you can just turn on with Volusion. You have to, if you wanted to create something like this, free shipping, all orders every day, that's a customized graphic. So you need just a little bit of graphic design know-how to do that. We can teach you that, but it's just beyond what we're going to do today. Good question. And then your other question, I'm going to direct it to your coach. That's probably specific to your site, and they would have to help out with that. You know, a lot of you guys stress out over your homepage a little bit, but I'm telling you right now, it shouldn't be stressful at all. Right? Let me find my whiteboard. So, like, if you have a website, we'll say this is our web page right here, from top to bottom. Okay, you're usually going to have your logo, and I'll change. Let's see if I can. Oh no, this is fine. Let's. So your logo is going to be like either here at the top left. That's going to be your logo. Or if it's not there at the top left, it should be like right here in the middle. Okay? So usually you have your logo there. Then, in most cases, these days in more modern web design, you're going to have your menu going across right here with your different pages, right? You know, whatever. Here's all your different pages in your menu. These are usually category pages of some sort. Then we, like most you guys, just have a big banner right here with some sort of marketing message, right? You know, with a shop now button and some sort of marketing message here, right? Here's your banner. Usually we like people to have, you know, pictures of people using the product, or using people in your image there is always really good. But that's pretty common. And you notice that's on every one of these. Amazon has this type of banner. Target has that banner. Wayfair has a banner. I mean, they all have it. It's very common to have that. So we put our banner there. Then this is typically where we like your featured products, right? Right below the banner. Whether it be one row of 3 or 2 rows of 3 or whatever, you should have some featured products there. Then this section right here below, okay, and this can go sort of beyond. This can go as far down as you want. This section here can be comprised of a lot of different things. It could be, you know, it could be text. It could be, you know, different graphics of some sort. I mean, you saw I had a free shipping banner, right? On that site, free shipping. It could be like what Wayfair does. Wayfair has lots of banners and graphics showing different categories, right? Even Walmart does a pretty good job of this. They have their featured products, and then if you come down here, they have different images for each of their different categories. Okay, that's something you can do. But you know, you got to keep in mind, guys, most of you guys are startups, and rather than putting a whole ton of emphasis on your homepage, you get the basics down, right? You get your nav menu, your logo, your banner, your featured images, your overall design, and you call it good and you start marketing. I don't think your homepage deserves a ton of tinkering until you have an adequate amount of traffic. It's just not worth your time until you've got traffic. So stop tinkering with your site. Get an adequate number of products and categories, make sure the design looks good, and then get marketing, and we can tinker as we go. Okay, we're getting kind of beyond the scope of what I wanted to talk about today, but but just some basic principles of good homepage web design, which, by the way, we will be talking about here in subsequent weeks. But today is just about helping you manage your featured categories, or I'm sorry, your featured products, and hopefully you're able to do that after talking today. Yes, Kathy, that is worth stressing over. You need to make sure the name of your site is certainly on the homepage, no doubt about it. If you want to address some of those thoughts with me in our in an email to me, that would be great. We probably won't cover that in our webinar. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to finish up. This is plenty for today in terms of featured products. I want to talk more about homepage design. We'll be discussing a little more on banners. You know, a little bit of basic graphic design work. So if you're aspiring to learn and understand a little bit more about graphic design, you can do it. If you'd prefer to hire out additional graphic design, you can do that too. I'll show you some resources to do that to get it done relatively inexpensively. But at least for today, I hope you guys are now able to manage your featured products okay. Any specific questions in regards to featured products? And if not, we'll go ahead and we'll finish up. And just as a reminder, when you're assigning a product to be a featured product, like we did with the Abigail earlier, you just make sure you edit the product and you find under Advanced Info your product display option, and if you want it featured on the home page, you have Home Featured selected. If you don't, you can select this select option and hit save. And that'll take the Abigail product off of the home page pretty easily. So you can toggle products. Now, as to how often you should sort of rotate those products, it's up to you. If you have a lot of seasonal items, pay attention to the time of year and feature what's in season. You see the big players do that. Otherwise, if it's a product you want to move a lot of, we kind of talked about this earlier, those are some times to do it. A lot of times, though, early on, if you're not getting a ton of traffic, don't rotate out your featured products a whole bunch. You don't need to. You should be focusing your time and energy on getting traffic, okay? All right, good. So let's finish with that. Guys, thanks for coming along to our Volusion training today. Hopefully this was insightful. We will see you guys next week, same time, same place.